Hello, welcome to Masala Lab by XOtoXO Games. This is the how to play video for Tiffin, the first, smallest and quickest game out of 3 that you can play in Masala Lab. This can be played both with the mini box as well as the standard box. Do watch this video because you'll need all these rules for game 2, Sadhya, as well. Masala Lab is based on the book Masala Lab by Krish Ashok. That's me. The book has a lot of food science, but the games primarily focus on preparation and cooking of food, and more specifically, prepping building blocks of food that can be stored and cooked into a variety of dishes. You will find some parts of this first game, Tiffin, familiar if you have played the classic card game Rummy. There are some specific rules, of course, but the overall scheme of picking cards and making patterns and sequences is similar. This is a card game for 2 to 4 players. It will take you about 30 minutes to play. The rules are the same for any number of players. Just deal the cards accordingly. For this game, you only need 2 decks of cards. These are labeled as Deck 1, Prep, and Deck 2, Item. If you have the mini box, you will find only these in the box. In the standard box, you'll have to pick only these and leave the rest for later. Note that this is a prototype. You might see some differences in the game you receive, but the gameplay will still be the same. Deck 1 has a few item cards in them. Separate them and add them to all the cards from Deck 2. Remove any blank cards. Shuffle them nicely. Deal 3 item cards to each player. Lay the prep cards and item cards in 2 piles like this, one below another. Now open out the top 5 cards of each pile like this. You will draw cards from these sets of cards while playing. You may remember Rummy has a similar setup with just 1 open card. Here you have 5 open cards for more choice while picking. Whenever one of the open cards is picked up, fill up the vacant slot by placing the topmost card from the stack. In this game, you're trying to complete prep cards because they score points, and the highest scorer wins the game. Here's the catch. The game ends when one player is the first to complete 7 preps, but the winner is the one with the highest score. So you don't need to finish first. You just need to have the highest score to win. You score points by completing prep cards. You need item cards to complete prep. Think of it as gathering ingredients like vegetables, grains, and spices to prepare a dish by following a recipe. So let's take a look at what a prep card is and how to collect it. The prep card has a number on its top left. This gives you 2 pieces of information. Firstly, it is what you score if you complete this prep. Secondly, it is the number of items you need to collect to complete it. If the number is 3, you score 3 points, and you also need 3 items to score it. Below the number, you see a sequence of symbols. This is the recipe. You need to collect items in this sequence to complete this prep. There are 4 icons: oil, vegetable, grains, and spices in the recipe. You'll see similar icons on the item cards as well. Remember, in Rummy, you try to make a sequence of cards of consecutive order. This is something similar, but the recipe you need to follow is given on each prep card. Let's take a look at this prep card. You need 3 items to complete it to score 3 points. The recipe also tells you which items to look for. Just look at adjacent pairs. This prep, evening snack, needs the following adjacent pairs: oil veg, veg grain, grain spice, which are these cards, for example, or these cards. So you can collect any set of items which have the same sequence as the recipe. You must overlap these items over one another like this to complete the prep. When you overlap, you must only put the same color on each other. Red on red, blue on blue. You cannot put a green on a blue. Now you can see that all the icons visible on the items match exactly with the recipe on the prep card. Once you have collected these items and overlapped them like this, you have completed the prep and scored the points for it. You'll notice that the ingredients you see on the item cards are actually what you need to make the prep on the card. One more way to score is on the item cards. You'll see some of them have a semicircle on them. Get any of these to line up and you get 1 bonus point. Add them to your score at the end of the game. Let's also not forget about penalties. Yes, you can earn a penalty if you have any incomplete prep at the end of the game. For each missing card of the prep, you lose 1 point. So if you have a 3-point prep reserved, but you have only 2 of those cards in hand at the end of the game, you're missing 1 card and you get 1 point deducted. Now that we've seen how the core concept of the game works, let's just go over what you do in each turn so you'll be ready to play. Find a volunteer who wants to play first. On each turn, you can do 1 out of the 2 possible things. Either you can pick up to 3 cards from the item row. That's 1, 2, or 3 as you wish. Or you can pick up 1 card from the prep row. Let's assume you picked up 3 cards from the item row. You already have 3 in your hand, which were dealt to you at the end of the game. Before your turn ends, you need to have a maximum of only 5 cards in your hand. You have to discard any excess into a discard pile, which is placed face up right next to the draw pile here. You can pick them up from the open cards or blindly from the face down pile. On subsequent turns, players can even pick up the top card of the discard pile. Now let's assume instead of item cards, you picked up 1 prep card on your turn. You have 2 choices. If you already have all the items for it, you can immediately lay them in sequence and claim your points. If you do not have all of the items, but some of them, and you do not want anyone else to steal your progress, you can reserve your prep card by picking it up and placing it face up in front of you. Anytime you get the item cards for it, you can complete it. Completing a prep card does not take up a turn. Only picking up cards does. When you complete a prep, discard all the items you used for it into the top of the discard pile. How do you keep track of scores of completed preps? Simple. Once your prep is complete, turn it over face down. If your prep is complete and you scored a bonus, then turn it over but keep it horizontal. Then you can add +1 for each horizontal card at the end of the game. Continue playing until one person has completed 7 preps. Check who started the game. Everyone needs to get the exact same number of turns. So if someone has 1 more turn left to complete the round, they can do so now. Now the game ends and it is time to count the score. Remember, the winner is the one with the highest score. So it's possible that even someone who has fewer than 7 prep cards completed may win. Let's do a simple scoring simulation. Player A got 3 plus 2 plus 2 plus 3 and 1 bonus. That is 11 points. Player B got 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 3 plus 4 plus 2 plus 2. That's 14 points. So player B wins in this case. Player C has 1 incomplete prep. That's 1 minus point. You can try these variations depending on your interest or level of experience with the game. 1. If you want a shorter game, you can stop when one player is the first to complete 5 preps instead of 7. 2. If you want a tournament style game, You can play a best of 3 and see who gets the highest score across 3 games. 3. You can pick up your 3 cards from the item row one by one, waiting for each card to open. Similarly, you can pick up 3 cards from the top of the discard pile if you wish to. Just pick them one by one. 4. If at any time on the item row you see 3 cards of the same type, you can move one to the discard pile and open another one. 5. Retain the same order of the item cards as in the recipe while discarding them after completing a prep. 6. There is no limit to the number of cards you can reserve, but remember, you'll score a huge minus for all the incomplete prep at the end of the game. 7. 1-point preps need just 1 card. Get oil to get this prep done. 8. If scores are tied, whoever got the higher number of bonuses will win. If there is a tie on this as well, the victory is shared. Enjoy the game and check out games 2 and 3, which can also be played with the Masala Lab standard box.